Hello, and welcome again to our Tennessee for Leaders Equity Playbook. My name is Michael Lowe, and I am leading our Module 7, providing equitable access to teachers, and not just only teachers, to effective teachers. Again, providing equitable access to effective teachers. We are on this journey together today, and we're going to learn in this space. Again, my name is Michael Lowe. I'm the Chief Founding Officer of the Sycamore Tree Consulting Group, and this is our Tennessee Leaders for Equity Playbook. Please take this moment to download on your device or on your phone or whatever device you have our QR code for the Tennessee Leaders for Equity Playbook. The QR code is found here. Module 7, providing equitable access to effective teachers, is our module for today. Module 7, providing equitable access to effective teachers. Look at some of our learning outcomes or our agenda today. We're going to explore recommended actions. We're going to pinpoint some common misconceptions around teachers, and we're going to analyze the actions that leaders can take to ensure that students have access to highly effective teachers in Tennessee. What do we mean by equity? In partnership with the Leadership Academy, we do have our definition here. Again, please take a minute to read our definition of equity. You know, equity is like vitamin water. There's so many different flavors today, but we are speaking specifically about how all of our children and our adults receive what they each need within the environment and the system that is intentionally built for them to not only achieve academic, but social and emotional success, regardless of their race, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of any characteristics of their identity, including their language. Why are we focusing on equity? We begin every module with this question. In order to sustain and deepen Tennessee's substantial educational progress over the past 10 years, all of our children must have access and opportunity, instruction, and support in our classrooms, in our schools. We want to ensure that all students are critical to the vitality, the growth, and the multiplying effect of Tennessee's success for our volunteer state. Again, equity should not be a controversial topic. We know it has become one, but this is simply about giving all of our children, every one of them, the tools and the support that they need to be successful. Remember, equity does not have to be taboo. This is something we are speaking of for all of our students, especially our most underestimated students, our children in poverty, our Black and brown students, our ESL students, or our students is coming from different ethnic backgrounds. Our norms are here today. Please expect and accept non-closure. This is just a module. This is a guide to help you. The playbook is a guide. And you are responsible for your impact. You, me, we are all responsible for our impact. Again, the playbook is a resource. And this playbook was designed with all of our stakeholders, our districts, our schools, community partners. They all, even including myself, had a chance to write, to edit, to go over our most thought-provoking questions around equity for our schools. And it is a framework. It's a useful framework. It was carefully developed and it was field tested. And we're trying to ensure that we have equity and access for excellence for all children in the great state of Tennessee. Again, our QR code is here. Make sure you take a minute to download the Tennessee Leaders for Equity Playbook. The QR code is here. Again, we're going to go over action plans. We have the equity shifts. We talk about shifts in mindset. And we also have the 8 equity commitments. Today, we're going over another one of our equity commitments. Today, our equity commitment, one of the 8, you have it highlighted, number 4, provide equitable access to effective teachers. Great teaching is a miracle. Great teaching is a thing to watch. It's a beautiful thing, the craft of teaching. We want all of our students to have access to effective teachers. Remember, culturally responsive leaders, as we take a look at this, culturally responsive leaders. Community engagement, they focus on equity and access. They always are viewing their mission, their vision, their values. They look at instruction. They audit the learning. They develop personally. They engage the community. And they also look at the operations and the resources that we have to support our students. And they embrace their role in mitigating, disrupting, and dismantling systemic oppression in our schools and in our learning places. Always working. Again, the mantra that we have here is falling in love with the problem. If you fall in love with the problem of educational equity, you'll be forever on a mission to solve for it. And if I love you, I have to make you conscious of the things you don't see. That's my brother James Baldwin. We have to make the public, our teachers, our administrators, our board members aware of the things that we may not see. Falling in love with the problem of educational equity. Let's look at some of the things that some of us forget about, but we need to stay reminded of these things. Remember, students in our most impoverished areas, in our most rural areas, our urban schools, our schools in high poverty, they are afflicted by what we call replacing teachers. And when you replace a teacher, you reduce the continuity. Many of our students have a divorce in leadership and teaching. There's so many teachers that come in and out, in and out. They don't always get the best teachers. Research has proven that our most impoverished students, our most underestimated, our high poverty schools, communities, they have some of the least qualified teachers. And it does not matter how many teachers of color join the field if our schools, our districts, and state leaders, we don't work to retain and place them in the best spots. Schools afflicted by high teacher turnover are disproportionately high need. They're high minority and they're low-income schools. And do you know when we don't place these teachers in the best high-need areas, we prevent long-term gains and turnaround. We talk about turnaround work, but it has to be sustainable. You can't just have a level 5 school one year and the next year they're level 1. We have to have it sustainable, a sustainable method. And remember, if we are looking at placing our teachers in the most equitable place for our students, we're going to continuously look at observations, make sure we're fair, make sure we're accurate in our placement, make sure we're credible, make sure we're rigorous, and we're transparent. Then our teachers will believe and they will utilize the observations, the places where we place our teachers to improve educational outcomes. We have to, as schools and leaders, be accurate, be fair, be credible. We must be transparent in where we place our teachers and tell them why. Let them know they're needed in those areas. The 8 equity commitments, as we talked about. And in our equity playbook, page 2, we talk about equitable outcomes for students. Now, we have to acknowledge that we have some deep-seated mindsets about culture, about race. And before we can make any collective shifts, we have to make individual shifts. We can't treat students without looking first at ourselves as the adults. Remember, our mindset shifts have to occur. Let's review this quote. We can, whatever we choose, teach all children whose learning is important to us. Whether we do so depends upon how we feel about the fact that we have not done so already. So how do we feel about the fact that we have not chosen to teach all of our children? How do we feel about that? That's a mindset shift. We can do it, but how do you feel about the fact that we haven't done it already? Providing equitable access to effective teachers. If you are a leader for equity, you take the steps to eliminate and minimize gaps, what we call not loss of learning, but looking at how many years these children have gone without an effective teacher. Not just a warm body, but placing them with our high-need students and schools. According to the data, let's look at the data. Do you know in Tennessee, 4th through 8th grade students that are below proficiency in English language arts and reading and English, they were 8% less likely to be placed with a highly effective teacher. That means they scored the lowest, and yet we did not give them the most highly effective teacher. Why is that? And I know some of us are saying, we don't want to run our teacher. But if you are in the craft of teaching, your job is to make sure that you are growing our students. Everybody can't teach. The gifted, the AP, we need some of our teachers and our most effective teachers. Sometimes they have to leave that ivory tower and teach those students that are in most need to close those gaps, those learning gaps. Again, according to the data. Also, principals and leaders, you have a multiplier effect. One principal has the potential of hiring over 20 effective teachers. And that's multiplied, that's 500 student successes. Just that one principal hiring 20 effective teachers. And a high quality leader will hire, develop, and support talented teachers. And the number one factor in whether a teacher stays or leaves is not the school, it's the leader, it's the principal. So we have to do our best work making sure we're placing and we're hiring and we're retaining the most effective teachers for equitable access for our students. Misconception. The misconception is all of our teachers coming out of the colleges and universities and coming to our school districts. Some believe that teachers are equally equipped and trained to be effective with all students, regardless of their evaluation outcomes. That's a misconception. The truth of the matter is this. As leaders, we have to acknowledge implicit bias in ourselves and our teachers. We have to work to create an inclusive and supportive environment where every student has access to an effective educator who can embrace differences and personalize instruction. We know about evaluation scores, but what about the mindset? All of us are biased in one way, shape, or form. How are we embracing differences and how are we personalizing instruction for our students? As we talk about placing our teachers in the best place for highly effective instruction, remember, many of our teachers, especially our teachers of color, when they're in a culturally affirming school environment, they focus on students. They focus on what students need, and they always think about the students' connection to the community and society at large. Racial identity is key for some of our teachers of color. You want to retain, we want to make sure we have them. Make sure you know that they have a focus on students and what they need. Let's look at school leader actions, recommendations for school leader actions. Have you started the process to look at multi-year data to develop strategies for recruiting and hiring highly effective teachers? You know, we have to hire teachers that don't blame students for poor test scores or chronic absenteeism. We have to look at adults that don't blame children. How do you create professional learning plans for educators that are struggling? You can't depend on the faculty meeting or sending them to a workshop. How are you individualizing the instruction or the learning plan for that teacher who says, I need help in lesson planning. I need help in developing appropriately challenging questions. Are you utilizing our Tennessee Value Added Assessment System data, our TVAS data, and observation data, and consider strategies to improve learning gains for struggling students? Some of us have feedback on teachers and observations for years. How do we use that to schedule and plan to match that teacher with the students who are most in need? Let's go to another high yield strategy or strategies. District leaders, again, look at human capital data. Examine other barriers. What is the school environment, the school conditions? Have we considered the principal? In order to attract highly qualified teachers in the most high needs schools, how do we look at the building, the environment, the leadership? You're not going to attract teachers and place them in the most effective environments if we have poor looking schools and the leadership is in flux. We have to train school leaders and interview teams in the selection and hiring processes to reduce bias and increase the use of skill demonstration. How are we developing partnerships with our colleges and universities and EPPs to show sharing data on performance? And remember, always provide training, learning up for our teachers, our staffs on cultural competence. Teacher leaders and teachers, I want you to understand, we have to embrace teaching all students. You can't always have the most gifted. You can't always have the students whose parents are always there, or helicopter parents, or those parents that are involved. You're going to have some students that need your help. Be prepared for that. Hold yourself accountable for being reflective. Hold yourself accountable for being growth oriented. Every single day should be a new day for our students. Be reflective in your practice and seek opportunities to learn. We have been talking with school districts about providing opportunities for teachers to learn on our time. We know a lot of our teachers can't stay after school. They have sometimes they have other jobs. They have to pick up children and other things. So provide learning opportunities during the school day. Get substitute teachers to come in some days and let the teachers learn on our time. That makes the learning more robust, and also our teachers will be bought in to our new initiatives. Trauma-informed instruction, cultural competence instruction. How are we making sure our teachers understand the students that are coming to us? Multiplying teacher talent. Teaching is a miraculous gift. Every student deserves a high-quality teacher and a high-quality school. The question I want to ask for you, do you have a desire to advocate for public school students? Do you have a desire to advocate for their teachers, for our teachers? We got to make sure we are attracting these teachers and placing them in the places where we need them the most. In closing, how can you as a leader set the tone? What can you commit to today? And how will your school or your community or district continue to move forward? Again, this is the Sycamore Tree Consulting Group. We work to build the capacity of educators and school systems to disrupt systemic inequities. And we want to provide conditions where all students, regardless of race, regardless of ethnicity, proficiency in the dominant language, regardless of income or status, we want them to thrive. Again, my name is Michael Lowe, founder and chief development officer for the Sycamore Tree Consulting Group. You have our web address there. Share on Twitter at M1Low, Equity in Action. Thank you for the Leadership Academy for this opportunity, and we hope that you enjoyed this module, Module 7, providing equitable access to highly effective teachers. Stay tuned for our next to last module that's coming. Thank you so much for your time.